This is a 2005 D18 1937 Authentic. 2005 is the first year that the 18A was made, and this is the second time that I've had this guitar in the shop for a video. It's in here this time precisely because I saw it the first time. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this specific individual guitar so that the next time it comes up for sale, I'll have all this information on here. So on the first run of the D18 Authentics, there was a couple of things that they got not quite right. The first thing is the finish, the edge of the fingerboard right here, on the extension. The original pre-wars were not finished right here, and then the next year, 2006, they got that right, that little detail right. You know, it's hard to find these details. I mean, you got to know what to look for. So, you know, no big deal. And you got finish on the fingerboard, big deal, you know. But if you want a true actual recreation of the actual 1937 actual D18, you know, these little details, people are picky about them sometimes. So, it's finished on the fingerboard right here. The other thing is the 05s had a little bit of a chunkier neck than did the later A's. I can't show you where that chunk is because I don't have another A right here, but it seems like it's a rounder shape on the back. There is no V whatsoever to this neck. It is a round baseball bat shaped neck. It's not uncomfortable, you know, you got to get used to it. It's a big neck. It's a handful. It's a handful of neck. But it's nice. It's, you know, like I'm big on tapers. I don't like tapers. I like an even taper. This is a nice, comfortable neck. I can easily switch from here to here without my hand feeling like it's swelling and shrinking as I go up and down the neck. So it's a comfortable neck. You just, you got to get used to it. The other thing about the 05s in particular, you know, first of all, there's not very many 05s. How many? 15? 17? I forgot the number. But there's not very many of them. So, you know, it's kind of a unique, it's kind of a collectible guitar in the very sense of its rarity. So, just because it's got a few little things right here, it is an 05, first year. That's nice. Okay, now the bridge and saddle combination, and this is true of, I believe, all Authentics, because I don't think that Martin has fixed this problem yet. It's not a problem. I don't think they've fixed this detail. And that is that the saddle is still a long drop-in saddle. It's not a true vintage saddle. So, in other words, they route in a slot that is deeper than the wing right here. The saddle sits into that slot, and then it's smoothed off on the edges here. If it was not glued in, you couldn't push it back and forth. The true vintage saddle, the slot is only as deep as the wing right here. So you take your bridge and you go whoop, and you cut the slot clear through it. So if the saddle was not glued in, you can push it back and forth. Now, I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that, but it is true that if you cut your saddle just a tiny bit short, you can see the bottom of the slot, which is not the case on this. So, once in a while, especially if I pull the saddle on an A for some reason or another, like if I'm doing a neck reset on one, or the saddle is too low and I need to replace it, or it's leaning forward, or whatever. I've done a couple of them. And I will go ahead and, if the customer wants to, go ahead and fill in the slot with wood and then recut it to a true vintage saddle. I did that to the very first D28 37A, the NOM model, the one that went to the North American Musical Merchandise Show. That one came into here for a neck reset, and in the process I filled the slot in. So that's one small detail. Could be improved on maybe. The biggest problem, the biggest flaw, oversight. The biggest thing that they missed on the 05 is the size of the bridge plate. And I can't remember exactly which way it was scooted, but the bridge plate was scooted a little too far forward or backwards. Consequently, the pins were too close. It must be too far forward. so that the edge of the bridge plate was on the underneath the bridge. And on this particular guitar, that evidently caused some bellying issues. I never saw the guitar before when it was stock. I only saw it afterwards. The bridge plate has been replaced on this guitar. It's been replaced with one that is slightly larger than stock. It's about a quarter of an inch larger than stock, so that the edge of the bridge plate sticks out right here. And I got a magnet, put the magnet on here, and ran it up there to the edge of the bridge plate so that I could see from the outside where the edge of the bridge plate actually stopped. I could put it under a light and do the same thing, you know, but the magnet was quick. So I have a magnet on top and a magnet on the inside, slide it forward until the magnet comes to the edge of the bridge plate. The edge of the bridge plate is right here on this guitar. And stock, it would come pretty much to the back of the bridge. Personally, even though it's not authentic, personally, I like it about a quarter of an inch to an eighth of an inch back from the edge of the bridge. When I do one on a 70s Martin D, that's exactly where I cut it. I cut it just a little bit longer than the bridge, and then I bevel my bridge plates, you know, so I feather them into the top so there's not a stress riser point here. Martin's never done that. Other manufacturers have done that. Martin never has. So they didn't on this one either. But the rumor, okay, again, I'm just giving you information about this guitar that I sort of kind of know a little bit maybe about. And the rumor is that T.J. Thompson replaced that bridge plate. Now, I had the first customer contact T.J. and ask him if that was true or not, and he said he didn't remember. So, who knows? But I will tell you this. The bridge plate in here is fabulous. I couldn't do one as good as this bridge plate in here. If I did not know the original spec, I would not be able to say that bridge plate's replaced. It is really, really good. And as you know, probably know, on this model, on the authentic and on the originals, the bridge plate tucks in under the bridge plate tucks in under the braces. So on a modern Martin, the bridge plate butts against the brace. On the vintage, the brace is cut about halfway and the bridge plate tucks underneath it. And man, those are hard to get out and hard to get back in because you don't have the advantage of working on the fresh guitar where you lay the bridge plate down and then put the braces on over, you know. You're working inside the sound hole. It's tough. I've done a couple of pre-wars that way that had to be done. So I get the question is whether or not this one's tucked or not. Man, I have no idea. The edge of the bridge plate sits so tight against that brace, you know, you can't see under it. So I have no idea if it's tucked or not. I would assume that from the precision of the fit that they tucked it. They either tucked it or they filled in the halfway and got that bridge plate up there snug. Either way, it's an extremely good bridge plate replacement. There is no way in the world that I would replace that bridge plate. First of all, it's just way too dangerous that you get sinking on the top. And I can see just a little bit of sinking, finish sinking on this one. When I get it right in the light, because I know exactly what I'm looking for here. And when I tilt it around like this in the light, I can imagine, I can imagine that I see a tiny bit of sinking right there. And I'll tell you what, it's not as bad as, it's not bad at all. It's not even noticeable as the first time I saw this guitar. The first time I saw it, I immediately saw it. But the thing about finish sinking is that as the guitar gets humidity and dries and humidifies and dries, the wood fibers swell up and they'll generally push that sinking back up again. And that's the case here. I've had the guitar in the shop for a week and with good humidity. And like I said, I can only imagine. If I didn't have the clue that bridge plate was already replaced, I'd be hard pressed to tell you for sure that it was. I see it right in here, And that could be from somebody's hand rubbing, causing the finish to, but my God, we're nitpicking here. I am nitpicking in order to see that. But I do know for a fact that the bridge plate on this guitar has been replaced. The other way I know for a fact that it has been replaced is the original ones, the bridge plate did not have go all the way to the X brace. Let me grab a plate here. Here's what I'm talking about. This is what it originally came with. It's cut on both ends. So this is the bass side, and the bridge plate would be cut over on this corner, so that you end up with this point and this point. Now this point is up against the treble tone bar. So your X brace goes here, and your tone bar goes over here. So this one is sitting in pretty close to the tone bar. But this corner is suspended with nothing over here. So your X brace goes over here, the tone bars go over here, and there's nothing right here. This corner will tend to make a bulge because it's a stress riser, you see. And I quit making my bridge plates like this for that reason. Later on in other Martins, looks like this, where this corner runs all the way to the X brace, you see. It doesn't come across right here. And this one still sits up into the treble side like this. And that's the kind of bridge plate that this guitar has in it. That's my preference, and this is actually my model for when I replace a bridge plate on the 70s that I'm working on. I use this style of bridge plate where the corner comes all the way over and touches the X brace. And these seem to me to not have that little bulge right there that this kind of bridge plate will have. This bridge plate will get a bulge right here because it's not supported and it starts pulling up right on that corner. That's the way the pre-wars are, and that's the way that the original authentic bridge plate would be. This is the way my 37 D28 is, but my preference is for that one. And look how the bridge plate this guitar has in it, and that's how I know that it's a non-original bridge plate. That's how I know without a shadow of doubt that it's a non-original bridge plate. And it doesn't have a bulge right there. You know, the top looks great. If this guitar had a belly problem before, it sure doesn't now. It's got just the right amount of rise, which is different from a bulge or a belly. So, it's good, you know. The question comes up, you know, is it hindering the tone? No, it's not hindering the tone. In fact, if anything, in my humble experience, it might be helping the tone because the bridge plate makes contact with the X brace for a greater distance here, you see. Imagine, for instance, that you cut this bridge plate really sharp right here so that this edge here didn't even touch the X brace. Or you floated it so that it sat off like this and didn't touch the X brace for about 1/4 of an inch or whatever. Then all of your vibrations are going to get lost, or at least they're going to have to swim the gap between the bridge plate and the X brace. So in my humble opinion, experience, I'll let that bridge plate smack up against there, and I'm going to use the full extent of the bridge plate make contact with the X brace. And in my humble experience, that sounds better. I like the sound of that better. So you're not losing anything by this replacement bridge plate. It's a very, very nice piece of wood. It's maple. It's great, you know. If anything, I think it may improve the sound by giving it a more of a mid-range punch to it. Okay, my job on this guitar, and does this have the waverly? Yes, it does. Yeah. My job on this guitar was to check it out and examine the bridge plate, make sure it wasn't hurting anything, and I also needed to lower the action on it. The action when it came in was 105. 105 thousandths on the low E, and then the G, the B, and high E were all great. They were right where the customer wanted, 75 thousandths of an inch on the treble E. So really all I ended up doing was lowering the E, the A, and the D. The G, the B, and the other E were pretty good. This results in a little bit of a low saddle, but not low, not overly low. In fact, for this guitar, and see how even it is now? It's very even across the top right here, which I like. I like an even saddle. Previously, it was higher, quite a bit higher on the low E side, and I like an even saddle. And this is also a nice height for a vintage guitar like this. I think I've got about 110 thousandths of vintage saddle sticking up, which is good. And the low E is just a little bit below the top of the pin, so the pins don't feel like they're sticking up. The pins have been replaced, by the way. Right now, these are black water buffalo horn, and I can tell that because the edge, the tip of the pin is frayed just a little bit on some of them. And that's the horn. You know, horn is a hair, and that's the fibers of the horn kind of fraying a little bit, which they do. It's no big deal. It's, you know, it's in there. Black water buffalo horn is a really good pin choice, in my humble opinion, for D18s if you like a crisp sound. They can sound a little bit thin on some guitars, on some 18s, but they will give a nice, bright, crisp, clear, sharp tone. Good choice here. I know when to put Antique Acoustics bridge pins on there because they're the hard vintage type plastic. But these are great, you know. I wouldn't change them. They're good pins. Alright, what else about this particular individual guitar? Right now, the back is great. I mean, the finish is great. It's got just one or two little small, tiny little nicks here. Well, I thought, well, yeah, right here. Just a tiny finish chip right here at the first fret, a very, very tiny little chip. Stock nut, never been removed. Ah, man, 2005, what is that, 14 years old now? 15? 15 years old? Fabulous condition. I mean, at some point this guitar is going to have to get a little wear on it. So, nice guitar. Let's play a little bit more on it. First, yeah. Here's clear, especially for the action right now is 90 thousandths of an inch at the low E. The relief is low. I'll guess about 4 thousandths of an inch, 5 thousandths of an inch. Perfect. I mean, I don't even need to measure. It's perfect. So, plays great. D18, 1937, authentic, 2005. Done. Boxing up, going home.